Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Whether you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, or you're listening in on the Woodward Sports app, thank you so much for joining us this weekend. This Tuesday. God, Fish, I'm already thinking about the weekend. That's how you know I'm sick.
That's good. I love that.
That is
excited
not good.
for the weekend.
That is not good.
You got Christmas on Saturday.
Weekends are for losers. Remember what we talked about?
Yes, I do.
I'm joking. All right. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing fantastic this morning. 801 downtown Birmingham, Woodward Sports Network, here in the Woodward Sports Studios. I'm Adam, your host, along with Jeff Iafrady.
Both rocking
Morning,
hats
Jeff.
today. Good morning,
What's up,
Adam.
man?
How you doing? Good.
We've got a jam-packed show today, guys. Immediately, we'll be getting into Killian Hayes. Later on in the show, we're going to play a little game. Keep him, dump him. You keeping this coach, or are you getting rid of him? Former Detroit Lions beat writer and reporter Michael Rothstein of ESPN. He'll be joining the show at 9 o'clock. That'll be a good time. He'll talk about Dan Campbell, his perception of the team, what he experienced during his time here in Detroit. And, of course, later on in the show, we're still got to talk about the Lions. Big win on Sunday. Momentum changing potentially. Culture shifting. Who knows? And, of course, with the Chris Godwin injury emerging and Tuesday Night Football tonight, who are the favorites, actually, to come out of the NFC?
Maz is looking smarter by the day.
Maz is looking smarter and smarter by the day. Jeff, Killian Hayes.
Yes.
He ranks among the worst in the league offensively.
Yeah.
Second from last. Can you build and win around Killian Hayes, and how patient will you be in terms of his development?
Well, with Killian, it's tricky because I don't think he'll be the centerpiece of a championship team, of course, but I think Killian, listen, the guy's got talent as it is. I mean, we watch him. His trade value right now, I mean, Koo was on the show yesterday. We talked about Killian Hayes. His trade value isn't that good right now to any team in the NBA. He's an unfinished product. And with the Pistons, it gives him the opportunity to grow. This year, you've seen some things, obviously improving his outside shot. The playmaking ability is still there. Perimeter defense is slightly improved. He's even getting better from that area. You want to see him be more aggressive. And I talked about this. Listen, I understand some point guards pass first. And you can be pass first. But with Killian Hayes, last year, his rookie year, he barely averaged a free throw a game attempt. Now this year, he just cleared one attempt a game. And I'll just give you some context. He's playing 25 minutes a night. Saben Lee is playing about 15 minutes. Saben Lee averages almost another free throw more a game attempts. That's Saben Lee being more, and they have about the same points. So that shows you that if Killian would just go to the line and be more aggressive, at least taking it in and trying to get fouls, listen, you can at least increase that from 7 to 10 because he's a guy who's going to spot up. He'll hit a three ball. Maybe he'll get a layup in a game. I mean, you can't finish the game with 5 points. I mean, that answers the question right there. Can you build around him? Right now, hell no. But there still is untapped potential in my eyes. I mean, I looked it up.
I think everyone can clearly see he's struggling.
Struggling bad.
A year and a half, 2, 3 years from now, 1, do you see him part of the rebuild? And 2, are you bought into this idea that he can still develop? Do you want to risk Chris Middleton leaving? Do you want to risk some of what you've seen in the past from this team?
Well,
you don't want to give up too early on a prospect,
right? And especially like his ceiling, obviously, is not very high trade value, so that kind of makes the point. You have no choice but to keep him. And I think that obviously with the Pistons right now, worst team in basketball, I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. And next year, I don't know how much they're going to jump up. So Killian, yeah, he's a Piston. So to answer your question, though, can you build a team around him? Probably not. Can he work with Cade? Possibly. He's going to have to at least be more of a scorer. There's going to be times where Cade gives Killian the ball. Killian's going to have to attack the basket and show more. So from that standpoint, as long as Killian can learn to just be more aggressive, man, take more free throws. I mean, people talk about it all the time. This is a league you're going to have to draw free throws. James Harden, obviously, this year he's struggling with it. But if you can't draw free throws, good luck, and you're not that aggressive as it is. So no, Adam, he's stuck with us no matter what. So the question is, can he start in a backcourt with Cade? I think that's the interesting question because I think Saban Lee right now is pretty comparable. So if you draft a guard and I could see him replacing Killian. So as of right now,
how many teams are there in the NBA?
Well, there's 30.
All right. How many point guards start for each team? I'm being serious. One.
Usually one, yeah.
So that's 30 point guards, correct? All right. Point guards, you'd imagine, are the guys that typically facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you have the Jokic's, some of the guys off-position brand that don't do it, but then you have the small forwards and the guards who now rack up a ton of assists, correct? Which leads me to Killian Hayes averaging a whopping 3.7 assists a game. He's not even ranked in the top 100 in terms of PER, points, and rebounds. And rebounds I don't really care about, to be honest. But he's 6'5", but he's only 195 pounds. Does he need time to build into his body? What does prime Killian Hayes look like? What's his comp? And Koo sat up here from Locked On Pistons yesterday, and he said, Lonzo Ball. I don't know if I like that. I like Lonzo. Really good perimeter defender. I kind of like Drew Holiday. Can you give me that? Can you give me 18 on a given night if I need it and I'm struggling? But then your prime focus is on-ball defense, locking up the opposing team's score, whatever it may be, facilitating. What am I getting out of Killian Hayes 4 or 5 years from now?
It's a question.
And I'd hope it's that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But right now, he needs to be way more aggressive, as you've said.
And there's no excuse.
But can he be? And what's his strategy to get more involved? I think for the first time against the Heat, you saw him and Cade really complement each other.
Yep.
And if that continues, well, maybe that's your strategy. A lot of question marks with Killian.
And there's no excuse, I believe, physically, at least with Killian. What is he, 6'5", 200 pounds? Like, and he's gotten stronger since he got in the league. That was the problem. When he came into the league out of France, his big thing was, can he get stronger? And I think he has. He's gained weight, 6'5", 200. There's no reason why he isn't attacking the rim more. And that's the issue. Make defenders respect the drive. Make defenders respect the fact that you're going to try to at least take it to the rim. And if you do, they'll give you space, and you'll have more opportunities to shoot the three ball, which he's shown to improve in. So he's just got to expand his game, man. And I think 50 career games, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bust yet. 50 career games, I got to give him more time because there's guys.
When are
in
you
the
going to
NBA,
evaluate him?
I would
and
say
you're going to sit down and say I'm ready to make a decision.
I would say,
is it 82? Is it 150? Is it 164 after 2 full seasons?
Because with Killian, it's a weird situation. Missed half his rookie year, so technically he's still kind of coming on with that. I would say next year. If he starts off next year and is kind of in this still stagnant, not taking many shots, putting up donuts in games next year, he's very well going to the bench, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I think Killian, his prime outlook statistically is an efficient 10.5, 11 points a game, 4.5 to 5 rebounds, 5.5 to 6, 6.5 assists a game. And I think if you can get that out of him, he's absolutely worth it. You know what I mean?
You know what's crazy? I said that same thing. We had to talk about Killian a couple weeks ago. I said I see him as a 13-6 guy, 12-6, whatever it is. And people were like, "That's all?" Like people were like disrespected. I saw him as that. I'm like, what are you seeing out of him? And what do you think he can be? Maybe they see the 18 points a game. I don't know, but I don't see that 20 points.
This isn't probably the best player comparison that I'm going to make right now. But having said that, Chris Paul, what's his job? What's his what is the value Chris Paul brings to the Phoenix Suns?
He's in control of their offense, man.
So he's facilitating roughly around 8, 9, 10 assists a game. Okay. Yep. But more important than that, come fourth quarter or at any given moment during the game, if the opposing team if the Phoenix Suns are in the bonus, he takes over the club, he takes over the game, he draws petty fouls, he gets to the basket, trying to draw contact. He gets, quote-unquote, cheap points, or the actual term, free throws, right?
Right.
If Killian develops a free throw, or let me put it this way. If Killian Hayes can improve his free throw shooting, 78, 80, 84%, hell, if he can get anywhere near 85, 86%, that would be elite. But, 7 out of 10,
Yeah.
I guess you take it right now. What is he shooting from the line right now?
He's shooting pretty good. He doesn't shoot a lot, though. So it's hard to judge
He's 93 from the free throw line.
But it's one
the
for one a
problem is
game.
he's probably averaging 1.5, 2.5 free throws a game.
Right.
That's the problem, right?
You need more of those.
So he's actually shown promise, but he needs to get there more.
Yeah.
And look, if you don't have a jump shot, I'm not saying you need to be Steph Curry. But hey, if you're open, I need you to make 1 out of every 3.
Yeah, give me that.
And if you're not confident in the shot, you're 6'5". Get to the basket. Worst case, if you have a good look, you're probably making it. If you don't, and you draw contact, you're going to the line for 2. I like Killian and what he can be. I'm in love with what I see in the future. How patient will Troy Weaver be?
Yeah.
How patient will Dwayne Casey be? His job's also on the line here. You have to remember that. If I'm putting out a point guard every night whose plus minus is always in the negative, I'm not seeing consistent ball play from him, how do you justify that? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And that's why, very well, I wouldn't be surprised, man. I give him till next year. And this year is kind of the learning curve for him. Catch up. Like you said, get to the line a lot more. Next year, if we see the same things, I don't even think Troy Weaver would be that stubborn not to at least be like, listen. I don't know about trading him, maybe, but he's going to the bench.
But are
man.
we all willing to say
going to the bench.
he's not going to be a star player?
I think right now he hasn't shown that.
Maybe a fringe all-star?
Yeah, he hasn't shown that.
A fringe all-star 2-3 times maybe in his career. I don't see star potential.
No.
I don't see Cade. I don't see superstar. And I hope I'm wrong. Believe me on that. We'll see. Killian has the rest of the year to really keep improving. Wish him nothing but the best. We got to go to break. When we get back, if you want to call it football, there was football last night. And it wasn't pretty.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
It was horrible.
A lot of people probably shouldn't have jobs. But, Jeff, could you tell people who probably shouldn't be working in the NFL right now?
Yeah, listen,
Can you tell them where they can get a career in?
After watching that Monday night game, I know a lot of guys are leaving the NFL. They're coming over to Northwestern Tech because, listen, you could start a new career in an industry that is always essential. It's the heating and cooling industry. Learn more today by visiting northwesterntech.edu.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Hi, I'm Kay Cunningham. I'm proud to partner with Hall Financial, the mortgage company known for 5-star service. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their 5,000 5-star reviews for yourself. Go to callhallfirst.com and get started with your 5-star experience today.
Opinions are like ear holes, and we're putting ours in yours.
That's not winning, joint.
It's Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Jeff, Monday Night Football, Raiders, Washington.
Or Cleveland.
Or, excuse me, Cleveland.
Yeah, it was weird. That was weird.
Snooze fest.
Snooze fest.
Washington, Philly tonight, excuse me.
Yeah.
Snooze fest. And then Minnesota, Chicago. Snooze fest. Unless you were me and you were going against Darnell Mooney and you needed him to do really bad.
Yeah. Then you were good.
Then you were good. But outside of that, I think two things I learned from last night. One, the NFL is absolute. Well, I think we've always known this, but it's just another stamp on the page. They are the king of this country. Doesn't care if it's a Monday night, doubleheader, two of the worst teams in probably all of football. Minnesota, Chicago playing, and then you got Cleveland and Vegas, but are they really good? Nah. 16-14. That was a snooze fest.
Yeah, it was.
Let's start with the Raiders, Browns. Browns lost. Are you keeping Baker? What are you doing with Baker, Jeff? I don't even care about the game. It was 16-14. It was a snooze fest. How the Raiders continue to win football games with a guy who looks like he should not be coaching in the NFL, with a game plan that looks really bad and inconsistent. But hey, he's an interim coach. I guess you got to cut him some slack. Mm-hmm. What the hell are you doing in Cleveland? In Cleveland, listen. And we can get to this later on. This may be a warning in the future for the Detroit Lions, who, in theory, are building a very similar roster structure. Focus on the trenches, deeper backfield, good defensive play, game-managing quarterback. Here are the warning signs of when you rely on this. And I know Baker was not on the field last night, but it's telling. It really is. So what happens when you can't run the ball all over your opponent? Again, I know it was Nick Mullins last night, but Cleveland and Baker Mayfield, what are you doing? Because last I checked, you should not be paying this guy.
No.
Don't you dare re-sign him. He's not it. You've had more than enough time to see it. And again, if I need to go to Cleveland and call into radio stations, I don't know what I need to do this morning. But the Baker Mayfield stuff has to stop. He's not a good quarterback.
No.
He's average. Comp, Jared Goff.
I think Jared's a little better, in my opinion. Just because of...
Yeah, I mean, look.
But you're choosing crap over, you know what I mean? Like,
I get it, but this can come as a warning as well. If you don't have the quarterback,
oh, yeah.
I don't care how good the O-line is. Don't care how good the defensive front is. Don't care how good the secondary is.
Yeah.
Don't care how deep your backfield is. Doesn't matter. When you don't have the quarterback in the NFL, it doesn't matter. And last night was a perfect example. Because there are 4 teams playing last night. Where do you look at the quarterback and say, yeah, I like Derek Carr. I do. But granted, he doesn't have the greatest wide receiving core, but meh. Baker Mayfield not playing. Nick Mullins shouldn't be in the league, probably. 3rd string quarterback, maybe. Emergency, which he was actually last night. Kirk Cousins. Minnesota, are you happy? 87 yards?
Oh my!
Are you really happy, Minnesota, this morning?
Horrible. With that secondary?
Against Chicago?
They had depleted COVID secondary. I mean,
Justin Jefferson had a good first quarter.
Yeah.
Didn't catch a ball after.
That was embarrassing.
Minnesota, what are you doing? You don't have a franchise quarterback. You have a ceiling. And it ain't the NFC Championship game, and it isn't the Super Bowl, I'll tell you that. Chicago, I didn't mind Justin Fields. I really didn't. I really didn't. But they didn't look good either. And we'll get to Matt Nagy a little later on in the show. But, Jeff, takeaways.
My takeaway watching, especially the Browns versus Raiders game, number one, Nick Mullins last night, it reminded me of the Spider-Man meme, the 2 Spider-Mans looking at each other and they're the same exact guy. That's Baker and Nick Mullins looking at each other. Because Nick Mullins, up until the 3rd, 4th quarter, I think he had 3 incompletions. I mean, the guy was playing, actually, it wasn't moving the ball downfield, but he was looking like a game manager quarterback. He didn't turn the ball over, at least through the air. And that kind of proves the point. What do you do with Baker Mayfield? Well, besides all the antics, let's just look on the play on the field. And I know he's been hurt, but Baker is not a franchise quarterback, at least where you were expecting to go. Kevin Stefanski, we believe, Andrew Berry, they have a regime capable of at least making noise in the playoffs. I mean, that's a no-brainer. With a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, it's not likely. So they're going to have to figure that out. I mean, you have the team around Baker, obviously. You have Nick Chubb. I mean, listen, Kareem Hunt's been out for a couple weeks, but when he's back, you have that tandem. Jarvis Landry wasn't playing. You have him usually. Hooper should be playing. So there's more guys they're missing. But yes, to answer your question, Baker Mayfield, oh my God. If he can't work on the Browns, I mean, talk about playing for your next contract. Where is he signing? And who's willing to give him any money, considering he couldn't even get it done with the Browns and all the weapons they have, at least defensively, the offensive line they have, the run game. So the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, if he wants to take that next step, which I believe he's capable of, we all love at least Kevin Stefanski's, love his brain. So you think he's going to have to get another quarterback, whether it's in free agency, whether they trade up or attack the draft. I don't care how they do it.
Let me sum up Baker Mayfield for you.
It's bad, man.
Career record, 29-28.
He's average.
In his last 28 starts, he's only had 2 fourth-quarter game-winning drives. Career 89 passer rating, which is basically average in the NFL, not even decent. 89 touchdowns. Or, excuse me, 88 touchdowns, 50 interceptions in 4 seasons. Baker's been hurt most of this year, which is why the interceptions are lower. Here we are, Cleveland. You got to make a decision. And I think the decision is you cut bait. This is what you look like in the NFL when you have a good team and you don't have the franchise quarterback.
It's even worse than Carolina.
You're middle of the pack. You lose stupid games that you shouldn't be losing. And that's the reality. 29 and 28. He's a glorified Kirk Cousins. That's what Kirk Cousins is. And a slightly above average quarterback. I wouldn't even say above average. Average. Can you win in the NFL without a franchise quarterback? I think history begs to differ. Outside of who, what? Trent Dilfer? Joe Flacco? Both anomalies happened on the Ravens. Who else? Nick Foles? Magical Super Bowl run.
Right.
Okay. What else? What else you guys got for me? That's it? Figured. So you take your chance. Do you want to be an anomaly? Or do you prefer to be a team with a franchise quarterback who can pick you up when you're down, who doesn't need everything to go right for you to win a football game? And that's the scary thing in Detroit, guys. Remember. We talk about identity. Okay, if you're going to take the identity of, let's say, a Cleveland, well, that means you need to be executing to perfection to protect your quote-unquote game-managing quarterback. And if you don't, you're in trouble. You just are. That is problematic. That is problematic. I see people in the chat, Brad Johnson. Thank you also, Brad Johnson. So 4 quarterbacks in the last, 22 years? You need a franchise guy. And I would take it a step further. Forget the Super Bowl, because only one team can win the Super Bowl every year. Be realistic. What quarterbacks keep getting to the title games? What quarterbacks keep winning their divisions?
Consistently, yeah.
Consistently. Franchise quarterbacks. Not the best rosters. Not the best rosters.
Because you can get there. You know, Jimmy G, Jared Goff, you can get there. But you need a guy like that to win the Super Bowl. I mean, Baker, against the Chiefs last year.
The problem with Baker and Goff is if your game plan does not go well in the beginning stages of the game, they don't have the mental and physical capabilities of overcoming an early deficit. Everything, when the run game is working, Baker looks great. So does Jared Goff. I think we all saw it on Sunday. Well, what happens when I need you to drop back 32, 34 times?
Right.
Then what? What happens when I need you to throw on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5? In the playoffs, January, it's cold. Then what? Nothing. That's what. I know, Rex Grossman, but he didn't win the Super Bowl. But my point is, guys, who's winning their division consistently? Who's getting to title games consistently? Look at last year. Brady, Rodgers, franchise guys. Allen, Mahomes, franchise guys. Mark Sanchez, they had a 2-year run. Unbelievable defense. Brilliant run game. But again, what's your ceiling? You guys want to be the Jets? Yeah, you could argue you get to 2 AFC title games, but that was... How do you think the Jets would feel if they had a franchise guy during that era?
Oh.
You need that guy. Now, you can win without him. I'm not saying you can't win. But when we talk about compensating a roster to the point where it overcompensates for your quarterback play, that is not the answer. And if you think Goff can get you there, be my guest. You're putting your jobs on the line for that, not me.
And that's why I think it was such an interesting question what you proposed yesterday is how would Brad Holmes possibly feel? Do you think Brad Holmes might be thinking, hey, listen, we've got there before with Jared Goff. Possibly can be if the pieces are around him. But in my opinion, like all the reasons you just alluded to, even if we get there, man, like I'm not confident
and again,
in Jared.
Clarify, though. You have to be very careful, too, because this isn't just a quarterback problem. It's a quarterback problem in Cleveland because you believe in Stefanski and Andrew Berry, right? But what about the teams that don't? You don't believe in their GM. You don't believe in their head coach. And I'll give you an example. Minnesota. Believe in the GM. Don't believe in the coach, although he's a good coach. Mm-hmm. And you don't believe in the quarterback right now. What is that going to get you? You need to have the GM, head coach, and quarterback to be at the level of Rodgers, Allen, Mahomes, now Herbert, Brady, Manning, all those years, Breeze. You need to have top to bottom fluidity.
Yep.
And if you don't have it, tough to win in the NFL. Tough to win.
Yeah, it's extremely tough. And that's why, you know what? Hopefully Jared, you see him play better, and Baker over in Cleveland. I think he's going to be on the lookout next year at least. He's no way in hell anybody's offering him starting quarterback money. So we'll see what Baker does. He's going to end up being like Mitch Trubisky, backing up in a good situation.
Now, right?
Yeah.
CJ Schneider brought up Goff. Goff can get you there if you have elite everything else. Okay. Let's say I give you that, which is theoretically true because they did it with the Rams. Do you have Sean McVay? Do you have Todd Gurley? O-line, I think you could argue you have a really good O-line comparable to that Rams team. You have a defense that is overachieving under Aaron Glenn, but I don't think it has the secondary players, Aqib Talib, some of the players they had at the time. But let's say I give you that. Okay. You need wide receivers still. You need your tight end healthy. So I could argue you're almost there, right? In theory. But you're missing technically, and I'm not saying this as a knock, you don't know if Brad Holmes is less need yet. Although he gave you a great one first year.
Right.
You don't know, well, I think you know, but you don't know yet technically if Dan Campbell is Sean McVay. And last I checked, Jared Goff has been regressing the last 3 years. When he was peaking with Sean McVay, everything was fine. He looked like a franchise guy. You couldn't argue after his third year that he wasn't a top 10 quarterback. And they paid him. He deserved it. He looked good. He looked like a guy that could deliver. They paid him, and he regressed. Turnover machine. Rest is history. You need the GM, head coach, and quarterback. The rest can all fall into play. Look at the Bills. Got the GM, got the head coach, got the quarterback. Now they're just trying to figure out what they need to build around him. They went out and got Diggs, drafted an edge rusher, etc., etc. We got to go to break. When we get back, it's Tuesday, which means we got to give our top 10 teams in the NFL. I do understand there are 2 games tonight, but sorry, I am an impatient person. I want to give away the top 10 rankings tonight.
The teams playing tonight aren't going to be in those rankings anyway.
Yeah, outside of the Rams, but...
Oh, yeah, of course.
To be fair.
The Rams. Yeah, the Rams.
I got to talk to you about my bookie, guys. Bet from anywhere, anytime, using my bookie. Sign up today using code Woodward. What are you waiting for? They're matching you dollar for dollar. You put in $200, they're going to give you $200. You put in $400 or $500, they'll match you for $500. Dollar for dollar, sign up and match using code Woodward. What are you waiting for, guys? Now, on the off chance that you suck at gambling or you have an addiction problem, I advise you to get some help and call the Gambling Problem Hotline at 1-800-270-7117.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10 and a half months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
a graduate
of Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Show here, and that's how you answer. We love our sports. We just wish they'd love us back. Detroit sports for Detroit sports fans. Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you, everybody. 8:29, 9 o'clock coming up. Michael Rothstein joining us, former Detroit Lions beat reporter, beat writer for ESPN. That'll be a fun conversation. We'll get to it a little later. But, Jeff, let's just get right into it. Top 10 NFL teams.
Yep.
Week 15. Give me number 10.
10. This was tough. I wanted to put them a little higher, but after their showing last Thursday, they deserve to be in the top 10. Around that top 10, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. And they were on the goal line against Chiefs. They almost won that game. Could have won that game. And they didn't. But I think it's early in this, at least, regime. I'm very confident the Chargers are building something special. And it's just year 1. So I have him at 10, and that's an impressive spot to be in, especially first year as Brandon Staley.
Number 10, San Francisco 49ers. Love the job Kyle Shanahan is doing. They've turned it around. Yeah. They are going to be a team you don't want to play in the playoffs. I'm all for it. Give me the Niners at number 10. Give me number 9.
I got the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to continue to rise, obviously. But this game against the Patriots this week is everything for them. I mean, they've lost by Mac Jones with 2 pass attempts 2 weeks ago. They've had this game circled. So I think the Bills will come out at least confident. They'll come out, playing well this week because they know they have to win. They absolutely cannot afford to lose. So I have them at 9. And I think they'll
Number
continue to
9, I've got the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
Justin Herbert, Brandon Staley, yes, coming off a loss. I like this football team. Since Justin Herbert has arrived in Los Angeles, they've played the Chiefs 4 times. They're 2-2. They've lost both games in overtime.
It's a good stat.
Kansas City, watch out. They're coming. Now, they may not win the division this year, but I like where the Chargers are going. They're number 9 for me this week. Give me number 8.
Number 8, which is a team that dropped a little bit, and hopefully, this weekend, prediction by a loss, they don't drop too far, but I have the New England Patriots. And this is the team that, listen, to me, has a chance to make noise, but again, we'd be reminded Mac Jones is a rookie. There's going to be times where he gets a little overwhelmed, but listen, I'm impressed with not only his maturity, but the fact that they're 9-4 right now, so 9-5, I believe. So got to give them credit, man. They're number 8 on my list, New England Patriots.
Number 8, the Indianapolis Colts. Big win over the New England Patriots. Jonathan Taylor strongly making a push for MVP. Now, he may not get it, but somebody's got to give this guy recognition.
Definitely.
Unbelievable. 11th straight game with 100 yards from scrimmage. He added another touchdown. Jonathan Taylor is having a historic year. Watch out, Colts, guys. Watch out for the Colts.
Yeah.
Told you when they were 2-5, they were not a 2-5 team. Carson Wentz was playing better than people wanted to give him credit for. Yes, he made some dumb mistakes early on. And since then, they found their formula. Good defense. Rely on Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz, make throws when we ask you to. Now, is that going to get you to a Super Bowl? No, Wentz isn't the franchise guy. But Frank Reich, very good O-line, very good run game, threats at the wide receiver position, very strong defense. I could argue Defensive Player of the Year in Darius Leonard. Watch out for the Colts, guys. Number 8 for me this week. Number 7, Jeff.
Number 7, I have the Cardinals. And they fell all the way down to 7. And the Cardinals, to me, are on it's almost a downward spiral because the next 3 games where they have the Colts, Seahawks, and I believe, I can't think of the last team, but they're probably going to lose the next 3 games. The Cardinals ending 10-7 would be an absolute disaster, not only for Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, and that perception of how Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, especially in December and January, just find a way to collapse, and it's not helping the narrative. So they're 7 for me. They've been number 1 or number 2 all year, and right now they don't look good. Lost to the Lions, they dropped to 7.
All right, number 7 for me, the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to drop big time for me this week. I am extremely concerned.
Yeah.
I have them losing out. I think they finished 10-7. Whether or not they stumble into the playoffs is yet to be seen. Having said that, I'm all in on this team. I'm all in on the Cardinals losing every single game. I think they're out. I really do. I'm all for it. And for everyone saying the Niners are not a top 10 team, I'd go watch them. I would go watch how the Niners play. Very similar to the Colts, I could argue. Both very good defensively. Both hot at the moment. I like it. Cardinals at 7. Number 6.
And I have the Colts. I have them high. And you know what? This is why, too. I love the Colts, and obviously they're only going to go as far as Carson Wentz can take them, but 2 things translate to playoff football. Being able to run the ball and stifling defense. And the Colts have shown, at least defensively, DeForest Buckner up front, Leonard, Darius Leonard needs to be in the Defensive Player of the Year, at least conversation. The guy has like 4 forced fumbles, I believe, like 3 fumble recoveries, a couple interceptions, couple sacks. He has 100 tackles. I mean, he is all over the field. So the Colts, to me, are a top 6 team. They played like it. They just beat a very, very good New England Patriots team and pretty much slaughtered them. And we'll see what they can do this week against Arizona. But this is me putting them above Arizona, almost like telling you before the game. I think they'll beat Arizona this week. And, the Colts have impressed me. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, we had them as pretenders yesterday, but the fact still stands. They're playing well enough to be in that top 6, top 7 to me, at least. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is an MVP candidate. He probably ain't going to win it because if Derrick Henry didn't win it, then he probably ain't going to win it, but he deserves to be in there. So, Colts at 6 for me.
All right, number 6, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
they know what they need to do.
All right.
Run the rock, get Dak in play action, and take advantage of your mismatches that you have with Gallup, Amari, and CeeDee Lamb. Just stop dropping the ball, and they'll be just fine. Dalton Schultz, also a very good weapon. Dallas has what it takes to win a Super Bowl. They do. Have to be fair. They do. Stacked offensively, a good offensive line. If they can get the run game going, they're going to be a problem. And may I add, they have playmakers on the edge, at the linebacker position, and in the secondary. Not many teams can say that, and I'm going to keep reminding you. Dallas, number 6 for me this week. Number 5.
Number 5 for me, Dallas Cowboys. And you just kind of alluded to it already. With Micah Parsons, 10-plus sacks, Trayvon Diggs, at least 10 interceptions, they've shown, and I already stated this with the Colts, running the football, defense translates to playoffs. And I think, listen, Dak, he's shown to be his play's been a little inconsistent coming off that ankle injury, but you got Zeke, you got Pollard. If those guys are running behind that offensive line and you have those playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, I got confidence in Dallas, and I believe in at least their coordinators. I love Dan Quinn. I'm loving Kellen Moore, so I got confidence in Cowboys. I don't know if they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but they have the talent to, so it's yet to be seen. So Cowboys at 5 for me.
All right, number 5, this is where it gets tricky. I'm going to take the New England Patriots. Although it was very difficult, Mac Jones kind of showed he's a rookie against Indianapolis, and that is a cause for concern. But the defense of New England actually had so many opportunities to really change that entire game around. Dropped interceptions, busted coverage on a very few plays. I mean, they were so good in that game. You wouldn't tell by the score. But defensively, they really kept their team in it. So the defense in New England is legit. They're going to be a top 5 team for me, really because the nosedive a lot of the teams in the top tier end took this week. The Bucs lost. The Cardinals lost. Difficult. I mean, there's so many teams I could argue should be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Right? I could argue Titans, the Saints.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Number 4, I got the Los Angeles Rams. And I'm not ready to put them over the Buccaneers, sorry. Buccaneers, we'll get to them a little later, but I'm not ready. And the Rams are benefiting right now because they haven't played yet. It's the only reason they're so high on this list. Now, if they go out and take care of business tonight, and I don't want to say dominate, but they handle Seattle, I think they're a top 5 team. They got a top 5 roster, top 5 coach, top 5 organization, top 5 O-line, top 5 defensive front. I like the Rams. But they benefit from playing on Tuesday, so I'll quickly jump. Who's your number 4 team?
Well, I have the Bucks, and listen. After that loss against the Saints, I'm not going to take. Listen, Tom Brady's the first time he's got shut out in 15 years. The guy's 44 years old, so 45 years old. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Buccaneers are exposed, but I have them at 4, considering who they lost and how long they will be lost. I mean, Chris Godwin done for the season. Mike Evans questionable week to week. Fournette questionable. They lost some guys, so I think it's going to hurt them. And I think the Buccaneers, nothing to be worried about. Obviously, I'm never going to bet against Tom Brady ever. But as of right now, I have them at 4, and that would bring me to my next team, the Rams at 3, because the Rams, to me, although they didn't play, of course, they play today, I think right now they're at least in a better position. They lost Robert Woods, but they beat them head-to-head. I mean, we'll see how the end of the year plays out, but as of right now, I got the Rams at 3.
All right. Give me your 3, 2, and 1.
Kansas City Chiefs is 2, Green Bay Packers is 1.
Okay. Number 3, I've got the Bucks. 2, the Chiefs. Packers 1, we agree.
Yep.
Packers, for me, the best team in football.
Definitely.
You know, I don't think this gets talked about enough. Aaron Rodgers reminds me a lot of Michael Jordan. Honestly. He's just so damn good. He's unbelievable. And why I make the Michael Jordan comparison isn't from an accomplishment standpoint. It's from his character, how he is. He's so cynical. He kind of plays the media in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't always mean in a positive way. It means he's looking for anything to motivate him.
Yeah, he thrives.
Because he is so above everyone else. He is a much more skilled quarterback than Tom Brady. That's a given.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's the best ever quarterback. That's not even a doubt.
Right.
But I don't think anybody can argue Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted and talented quarterback that's ever walked the face of the earth. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And when you're that good, You need something. Oh, I'm going to call out my organization before the season started. Me against them. You think they're not going to sign him? I really don't imagine a world where he actually leaves. I think this is all part of I want to win a Super Bowl. I need all the motivation I can get. Let's give the motivation to the team. Because if you watch them play, him and LaFleur seem to have a really good relationship. And if I'm him, why would I want to go to Denver? Vic Fangio? He's a defensive-minded coach. Sorry, guys, I'm struggling to talk. I'm really sick, so sorry I keep pausing, but try not to vomit up my lungs. So I know a lot of people, especially national, I've seen Aaron Rodgers to Denver. Makes sense. They've got the defense. Pittsburgh, they can't run the ball or protect Ben. Why would he go there?
Yeah, right.
In Green Bay has proven without weapons, without a starting quarterback, they can move the ball up and down the field.
Yeah.
They did it against the Cardinals, did it against the Chiefs. The Cardinals, they had no wide receivers available. The Chiefs, they didn't have their franchise quarterback. They still moved the ball up and down the field. They just were awful in the red zone.
I like this question. Does Rodgers win Super Bowls with the Bucs' current roster?
Does Rodgers win a Super Bowl with the Bucs' current roster?
He says previous Pats team, but we'll just leave that out. No, Bucs team will be.
And I'll tell you guys why.
Okay.
So I love the people that say, well, if you gave Rodgers Belichick, he would have 6 rings as well. I'll tell you what. Rodgers' greatest fault is not that he chokes in the playoffs. We're not talking 3-4 interception performances in Foxborough like Peyton Manning had. Aaron Rodgers' flaw is his mental leadership ability. And what I mean by, I'm not saying he's not a good leader, but he's very Aaron-centric. Aaron first. Tom is team first. Tom is everybody before me. That's why he's so successful. And what's the difference between great and legendary? Let's just use those words today. Great and legendary, which is Tom Brady is a legend. All Aaron Rodgers is missing is that little thing up here that no one can explain that Tom Brady has. That's why. That's the difference. Aaron Rodgers does everything better than Tom Brady. They are the 2 best pre-snap quarterbacks in the NFL. They make it look so easy. What's the difference? Something up here. Aaron doesn't go to the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have been a losing organization for 20 years,
turn that around
and turn them into a Super Bowl winner year one. That's a mental thing. That's not I'm the best quarterback in the league thing.
It's off the field as well. Tom Brady, getting those guys
demanding
ready.
Film session.
Yeah.
Demanding this, demanding that. Excellence every day, every hour. Don't waste a minute. Be great. That's Tom Brady. And that's what Aaron Rodgers has proven he doesn't have.
Yep,
now,
there you go.
Believe me, as a fan of the sport, I would love nothing more than to watch Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl. I think it's really good for the sport and his legacy. Having said that, there's something up there where you allow yourself to be coached. You allow yourself to accept criticism because it actually makes you better. And we all thrive for perfection. And what people do, they misunderstand this. They think, I'm striving for perfection by bulldozing my way through all this, fighting through it. I know what's best. I'm going to get better. No. Striving for perfection is opening up the film study, the data, and saying, you know what? I'm not seeing enough improvement. I didn't make the correct read here. That's Tom Brady. And that's why he's the GOAT, and they're all just really good quarterbacks. That's not a knock on Aaron. We got to go to break. Sorry, guys. My little Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady rant. Keep him. Excuse me. Keep him or dump him. Matt Rule, Arthur Smith, Darrell Bevel, Brian Flores, Matt Nagy, to say the least, much more. When we get back from the break, Jeff, could you tell everybody about our good friends at Guardian Alarm?
Yeah, we talk about good defenses, guys. We talk about the defenses that help Tom Brady possibly win games with New England. Well, I have a defense right here that can help you win. It's Guardian Alarm. They get it. Good defense on and off the field helps you feel secure. Guardian Alarm has state-of-the-art technology that helps you feel safe, all with 24/7 local monitoring. Guardian Alarm also has convenient features that let you check in on your home, control lights and temperatures, detect smoke or carbon monoxide. It will even let you lock and unlock doors. Call 800-STAY-OUT today. You heard Fish. It's 800-STAY-OUT today. Guardian Alarm has been trusted for over 90 years at keeping families safe.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Go! Detroit Sports on Demand.
DeAndre Swift, he's going to take it all the way for the touchdown. Open in the corner, he triples.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app today. Take us with you everywhere you go. Search Woodward Sports Network or WSN Live.
All right. Before we get to keep them or dump them, I gotta address people in the chat because, of course, they're being irresponsible. In the last 3 seasons, Aaron Rodgers has had a top 10 defense all 3 years. His first Super Bowl run, they had the number 2 ranked defense, and then the number 3 ranked defense, and then yes, they went a good 8-9 year stretch without a dominant defense. But let's not act like Green Bay has never had good players around him. Guys, the reason why Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls is not just because Bill Belichick was his coach, and that's not taking anything from Bill. There is something mentally that separates good people from becoming great. Aaron Rodgers has everything you could ever ask for in a quarterback. Oh, well, he needs help. What if I told you his record when he's down in the 4th quarter?
Oh, it ain't pretty. It ain't very
If
pretty.
I told you, or even in the second half, what would you think it is? Give me a nice rough estimate. Let's say a 35 game sample. What do you think it is?
Probably like 7-27 or something like that. It's probably something around there. 7-28. What is it?
All right. Aaron Rodgers is 0-42 in his career.
Oh, he hasn't even
when
won?
trailing by a point in the 4th quarter.
He's never won? Wow.
Now, that doesn't include this season.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I don't recall a game where they're actually down in the 4th. Does that matter to you guys? Or do you want to keep talking about why Tom Brady this, Bill Belichick that, defenses?
But he doesn't.
Everyone is so quick. You know what I never understood? How we take away greatness from people because they were surrounded by greatness. Green Bay has done a 15-year job of getting talent around Aaron, and a damn good job of it. Outside of what, 3-4 years? In a 15-year stretch, that's pretty good. The Patriots never gave Brady all the talent in the world. After Walker Moss, look at the tail end of Brady's career. He was throwing to who?
Yeah, Edelman and Gronk.
Even after that.
Oh, yeah.
They were 13-3. They got to the title game one more time. Edelman was banged up. Gronk wasn't the same. Like we have revisionist history because it doesn't
Amendola.
because it doesn't add up. It doesn't fit our narrative. That's the problem with our society today is we only look at what fits what we're talking about. Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl year, they were the number 5 ranked team in defense in terms of yards and 2nd in points. So easy. I would really recommend you do research before commenting on the show. Please and thank you. The number 5 ranked, let me just double check, yep. 5 in terms of yards, 2nd in terms of points. Do me a favor, don't come on the chat and spew bullshit because you're just going to mislead a bunch of people right now.
So that 4th quarter stat, I can't get over that.
Look,
so
I mean,
when he's not trailing, you said, obviously. When he's trailing.
It's 0-42. I got to find the stat where it is. 0-42 Aaron Rodgers. I wonder if it's here.
Because that puts it into perspective right
All
now.
right, here we
really
go.
does.
Article. But perhaps one of us said, the stat is really not worth my time. Undefeated Titans. Versus winning teams. Excuse me. So let me clarify. He's 0-42, trailing in the 4th quarter against winning teams. Okay. That's the stat.
Yeah. So he's had comebacks, but not against winning teams. Is what the stats.
Again, look. So people, fitting what fits their narrative. 19th overall. So they're 2nd in points and 5th in yards given up. But we're gonna ignore that because 19 sounds better for our argument. I got it. All right, we got to keep them, dump them. Jeff, we'll start with Matt Rule.
All right.
Are you keeping him or are you dumping him?
I'm keeping him, and this is obviously I like Matt Rule, but I think his seat in Carolina is a little higher than people think. And with Matt Rule, especially the first 2 years, it's been not only a quarterback carousel, and you could blame the GM partially, but there's just never been anything built in Carolina yet, and I can't seem to figure it out. Defensively, they have, but Matt Rule needs to get this thing together because his seat's warming up a little bit, and I'm going to keep him, Adam, but I'm going to give him probably another season. And
I'm going to keep him for one more year. He's got to get the quarterback right. I don't care how much I like you as a head coach. If you don't get the quarterback right, whether you're the GM or the head coach, you don't last long in this league. Matt Rule, get it together. Like what you guys are doing on defense. I don't want to see Cam Newton, PJ Walker out there, or even Sam Darnold. Get the quarterback right, or you won't be successful in this league. Arthur Smith, Atlanta Falcons. I think this is an easy one.
Keep him. Yeah, you keep him. He's shown
good first year.
Yeah, he's good first year, definitely. I mean, he's got a lot out of Kyle Pitts. He's shown, at least with this offense, no Calvin Ridley. Defensively, the Atlanta Falcons are laughing stock. So Arthur Smith, keep him, man. I think he's shown a lot his first year.
All right, Darrell Bevell. I know interim coach, very little sample size, but as a Jaguars fan, or even from a different perspective,
dump him. Don't even hesitate.
You're not going to go for him.
Dump him because number one, Darrell Bevell, and this is the reason why I like Darrell Bevell, but you have a rookie quarterback. You need a coordinator, a Byron Leftwich. You need those guys. A Kellen Moore even. A guy who can connect with Trevor Lawrence. I don't think Darrell Bevell's that guy. I mean, Darrell Bevell's a guy who constantly is abandoning the run. I mean, he's not – I love him as a person, but as a mentor, I don't see it.
I find it hilarious that Darrell Bevell, back-to-back seasons, has called one game plan up until the coach got fired. And when the head coach got fired and he became the interim, he totally called a different game. I find that hilarious. I wouldn't even bother hiring. Dump him. Or keep him as OC. I don't care. Brian Flores, Miami.
Keep him. I like Brian Flores. I think there's things they need to figure out. Tua, I believe, I like to call Miami baby New England, at least from a perspective of you have a quarterback who's not going to do everything for your football team. You usually rely on defense, rely on the run game. You got playmakers on the outside. I like Brian Flores. I think maybe they need to do a little work to his staff, but overall, man, I think he's all right. I like him. Keep him.
All right, I'm going to keep them as well. 1-7 to start the year. I told you they were way better than their record.
Yeah.
I liked Flores. People were way too early to throw him off the boat. Here they are, 7-7 now. Love what he's doing in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
They're onto something. If Tua is what they want him to be, they're going to be just fine. Matt Nagy, keep him, dump him.
Yeah, dump him. And that goes back to the Trevor Lawrence point. You need someone who could at least work with, and I love the Ryan Day rumors. Everyone likes to bring up Ryan Day when bringing up Chicago. That would be an ideal situation, not for a Lions fan, but for at least a Chicago Bears fan, a fit. You're going to need someone else. You're going to need someone at least that a breath of fresh air, if you will. This Bears organization, I think, has got a bad taste in their mouth with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. So changing that around by getting a new coach would I think, jumpstart them. So fire him. Get rid of him. I think he's already on the hot seat as it is. And you heard the Bears fans last night at the game screaming, "We suck," while Matt Nagy was out there. So the writing's on the wall. Matt Nagy's gone. Fire him. Get him out of here.
All right. I don't mind that. I'm going to fire Matt Nagy. Although I like him because,
drive to the airport.
Look, man, 2 playoff appearances. He's a botched field goal away from winning one of them. I totally get it, but you can't go all in. Him and Ryan Pace both need to go. You can't go all in like that and then be naive to the rebuild that's in front of you. And they're trying to avoid it, and no one's talking about it in Chicago. They need to rebuild soon.
Yeah.
The cap is not in their favor. The cap is not working in their favor. They need to get it together. I dump them, go into a rebuild, probably take you 2-3 years to turn it around. 2 if you know what you're doing. Mike Zimmer.
I'm gonna say get rid of him. And this isn't me saying Mike Zimmer's a great football coach. I just think, again, Minnesota, like, what are you? The last 2 years, they're a good enough football team to at least win games. This year, they've been struggling. They've led in first halves and completely fell apart in the second half, and that says a lot about coaching. So it's up to Minnesota. What do you want to do? Look in your division. You have the Matt LaFleurs. Chicago's going to hire hopefully somebody younger, somebody more innovative. We have Dan Campbell, which we believe Dan's going to fill his staff with very high IQ guys. So Minnesota's going to be looking himself in the mirror and really just evaluating themselves. What are you and what is your identity? And I don't think Mike Zimmer, I think as much as I like him, his girlfriend obviously went viral, but I think Mike Zimmer is somebody you might want to just evaluate and just kind of look at and be like, eh.
So we always talk about this. If you don't have the quarterback, you have nothing, right?
Yeah.
Is Kirk Cousins the guy to compete head-to-head with Aaron Rodgers? Nope.
No, it isn't. You think Zimmer's the right guy to compete head-to-head with LaFleur, too?
I wouldn't even go there. I just think when you don't have the quarterback, it's tough for me to buy into what you're doing. They're 8. What are they? 7-7 now?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. You're a game out of the wild card spot. We all like the roster, but the quarterback isn't it. And we know that. And they know that. And they know that. That's the truth. So they need to look themselves in the mirror and say, are we going to work with Zimmer, who does a good job defensively? Or, you know what? I have to remember how we got to the NFC title game. Oh, we had a brilliant offensive-minded coordinator, Kevin Stefanski. Either go get a really good offensive coordinator to compensate for Kirk's flaws, or you're kind of just running into a brick wall. Unreal. All right, last guy, I think obviously very relevant to the city of Detroit, Dan Campbell. I think we're going to both agree and say keep him. Jeff, dump him, keep him.
I would keep him, and we've had this discussion all year, and there's countless mistakes you can at least say from a coaching standpoint, and you kind of scratch your head a little bit with Dan Campbell, but I think he's improved, and he went on, I was watching an interview with him this morning, and he talked about his ability in terms of play calling and how he's developed. He feels like he's more confident calling plays. He feels like it's clicking. Everything's clicking more easily for him. So I think he's growing as a head coach. Football team's improving week to week. They're 2-3-1 their last 5-6 games. So I like Dan. I'm willing to give him 1 more year, 2 more years to really evaluate him. You got to get guys around him. I mean, we said this all year. So jury's still out.
What's your job as an organization? Get the quarterback right. Once you have the correct front office in place, of course, because that's what good front offices do. You get the quarterback right, life becomes very easy. And you know what's funny? Perspective, Detroit fans forget how easy it was under Matthew Stafford. You would actually beat the bad teams most of the time. A good percentage of the time, actually. You'd play a lot of the good teams close, and you would lose a lot of those games, yes. But outside of, 3 seasons? 2, I could argue, really, where you had an elite level roster where I think we can all agree you underperformed.
Yeah, agreed.
The rest of Matthew Stafford's time, whenever he started a full 16-game schedule, you won on average 7 games, which means you were middle of the pack. You were a coach / GM / better roster away from being great. Outside of those 2-3 years, you could argue, where they did underdeliver, they did underperform. So in the 12 years you had him, it was really three years that you had something there. And then you forget the other 9 where he was winning you games, essentially by himself, especially the Caldwell year, the last one of Caldwell. And you're like, oh man, we can win with Goff. He's gotten to the playoffs. And you forget what a franchise quarterback guy does. Elevates your whole team. Makes your job a lot easier as a GM and a head coach. Kirk Cousins is not a franchise guy. He's not. Stafford, I think he's a franchise quarterback. Is he a top-tier, elite, top 3 quarterback over his 12-year period? No, he's not. Everyone knows that. But this year he's playing at a top 5 level. And it's because of the GM. It's because of the head coach. It's because of the team he's surrounded by. Yes, of course. A lot of factors. But that's what I mean when I say if you have the quarterback, building around him is super easy.
Mm-hmm.
We're unable to do it. Keep Dan Campbell. You got to keep him out. I didn't want to put him on here because I felt it was a little disrespectful. But we got to get to Michael Rothstein, who will be on the line shortly. 9 o'clock, guys, top of the hour. So much fun. But before we go, I got to tell you about the Folding Warehouse. Host your corporate party, team building event, or just come in with family and friends. 2 ways to play, $10 unlimited open play, or a private lane reservation for 10 people up to $120 for 2 hours. Have over 100 beers, $2 Mystic Beer Machine. Come and get your full on. Check it out at foldingwarehouse.com.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
I'm Kay Cunningham. Working with Hall Financial to purchase my first home was easier than I could have ever imagined. They treated me like family from start to finish. Find out for yourself at callhallfirst.com.
Live from Woodward Avenue. That's why we're called Woodward Sports. Detroit's radio sports network.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10.5 months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
a graduate
of Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Woodward Show. Top of the hour here downtown Birmingham on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're listening on the Woodward Sports app, which is available for free to download on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, or you're listening to The Roar on the radio, 99.1 FM, 93.5 FM, and of course, 94.7 HD2. You can download our podcast as well. Once the show's finished, compiled audio sent off the podcast, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, we will be available. Now, waiting on Michael to join us shortly. Jeff, I do want to talk, before he gets on, your current expectations for the final 3 games of the year for the Lions.
I think it's important, obviously, coming off that win, about building an identity. And you saw it. We talked about this. The Browns recipe. You have a good offensive line. You build, in the trenches, which Brad Holmes has. He drafted 3 straight, at least starters, the first 3 rounds. You got Penei Sewell, Lee McNeil, Levi Ozarike, and you're hoping. What you saw in the Arizona Cardinals game isn't something. You're not going to beat 10-win teams all the time, but the point is that the team looks that good in terms of what they can do in the trenches. Offensively, the offensive line looks so good. And that's what you want to look for the next 3 games, is what you can build on. Next year, this offensive line is going to be a strength. Defensive line, hopefully. I mean, you fall in the top 2 of the picks. You're going to get Kayvon Thibodeau. You're going to get Aiden Hutchinson. They want to build an identity. And I think that's the key, not about winning or losing these next 3 games, but who are you? What's your identity? And so far, it is really playing great defense, running the football. They fumbled last week, but limiting your turnovers. I mean, they can do a lot better in that area. That's what you want to do, is really about building your identity these next 3 games. I could care less if they lose all the next 3 of them. As long as they compete, they look, not as bad as they did the last, before the win against Minnesota and the tie against Pittsburgh. And I think Dan Campbell's play calling has come a long way as well. And that's something I'm looking forward to seeing, because you saw him, they called a great game. Credit to Ben Johnson, dialing up plays, pass game coordinator, and Dan Campbell for just calling them. And they looked good last week. So you're hoping the next 3 games, they kind of build off of that. They have the Atlanta Falcons this week, which realistically I think they can beat. In Atlanta, we'll see how that goes. But other than that, it's not about the wins and losses. I could care less. I mean, they could win the Atlanta game and then they lose the next 2. It doesn't matter. If they fall to the number 1 overall pick, they have the number 3 overall pick. Brad Holmes is the guy. He's going to draft whoever falls to him. So I'm not concerned about that, man. It's about building a culture, and I think the Lions kind of are starting to figure it out towards the end of the year. We're going to pound the football no matter who's in the backfield. Craig Reynolds going off. Defensively, they're going to play good no matter who's back there, which is surprising. I mean, you lose most of your secondary, and you don't have the Okora brothers, you don't have Trey Flowers, and you look like that. Charles Harris has a game of his life. That's what I want to see, man. Like, what can you get out of these guys? And we've seen it all year, them get the absolute most out of them. And this week against the Falcons, win or loss, man, it's about really developing the culture. And I think Dan's done a pretty good job, at least, last week or 2, 3 weeks. I mean, the Broncos game, you got to disregard a little bit. I mean, they were missing half the roster. But going into Atlanta, man, it is. It's about building the culture. Just go out there and not look like a complete idiot. Please don't make at least the coaching mistakes you've made the last 4 games prior to last game. And last game was a great game all around. It's about building off of that, and I expect them to do so. So build from it, and hopefully going into the next year. I know Terry Foster, the great Terry Foster, always says the wins don't carry over to next season, and he's got a point to that. But I think for this culture and what Dan Campbell, his first year, I think it's important to at least win a couple of these last games, and it's going to mean a lot to them. It is.
Jared Goff is on the COVID list.
Yeah, it ain't looking good. Yeah. Tim Boyle might be out there.
I'm pretty sure he's vaccinated.
Yeah.
So again, it gets back to our original discussion yesterday. Why are vaccinated players, 1, being tested so often, and 2, why are we self-disciplining ourselves here? as the league. Why? What is the concern with vaccinated players? Is it the unvaccinated ones? Great. Just say that the unvaccinated ones can't play. Problem solved, right? I don't understand what the leagues are doing. I don't get if they're I don't see the transparency here. I don't see where you have been consistently sending the same message day in and day out, week in and week out, since before the season started. Don't see it. All right, we're having some difficulties getting Michael on this morning. I do apologize, everybody. I will see what I can do shortly. Jeff, we have a few minutes to kill, so it's kind of open season right now. So here's what I want to talk about. I want to revisit keep them and dump them. There's a coach I left off there that I think the easy answer is dump him, which is the Las Vegas Raiders head coach. But also another one I didn't think it was appropriate to put him on, but I think needs to be discussed, is Kevin Stefanski. I like Kevin. Mm-hmm. I like Andrew Berry. What do I tell each and every one of you every single day? Get the quarterback right or you won't have a job. It's put up or shut up in Cleveland. Go get the franchise guy, or attempt to, because you're going to hit and miss a lot of these times. But the good teams hit. If you know what you're doing, you hit. If you know how to evaluate talent, you hit. It's that simple. It actually is that simple. If you're competent, you make competent decisions. If you're incompetent, you make incompetent decisions. So Cleveland, I could argue this is probably not the best year to go out and get a quarterback, but it is the best year for you to get a quarterback late in the draft.
Yep.
First, second round maybe. Because maybe not all the teams are in love with these guys. And if you just so happen to fall in love with a guy who you think can be better than Baker, you go for it. Or you test free agency. Who knows? All I know is, as any head coach, even Bill Belichick, guys, he got fired from Cleveland after winning a playoff game. You don't get the quarterback right. You don't win football games. You don't win your division. You are going to get fired. I don't care how likable, how fun, how energetic, how good you are as a coach. If you don't get the quarterback right, it's hard to win consistently in this league. And what happens when you don't win consistently in the NFL? You, my friend, get fired. Fair or not fair, this is a league about wins and losses. So although I absolutely love Kevin Stefanski, I think he has his flaws, just like everybody does. And he needs to address the elephant in the room, which is we don't have a franchise guy. And we have a damn good roster that could win now. What do? Do we go out and get a veteran quarterback and make a run while we wait till 2023 to draft? Mm-hmm. Or do we take a long shot on one of these prospects? Carson Strong, Malik Willis. Does Malik Willis fit that model more maybe than a pocket quarterback does? Because Cleveland isn't full of skill position receivers and tight ends.
No deep threat downfield. Yeah, it's fit for that.
Now you want to build the Lamar Jackson Baltimore trend. Okay. I think Cleveland is pretty set up to do that. Now, I don't believe in Malik Willis. I don't think he's Lamar Jackson, but having said that, what are you doing, Cleveland? Stefanski's got 2 more years minimum.
Yeah.
Right? No one's calling for his job now. But you will lose your job if you don't get the quarterback right. And even when you get the quarterback right,
you may still lose.
If you don't get the team around him, the head coach, the GM, well, then you're never going to win.
Yeah.
But at least if you have the quarterback and you have the head coach and you have the GM, which I believe if Cleveland does get the answer at quarterback, they have all 3. You can figure the rest out. But if you're Kevin Stefanski, you got to figure out the quarterback position. And I'm not saying he has to fix it this year.
Right, because he walked into Baker. I mean,
yeah, well, not even just that. I don't mean it in the sense where he's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with this is, what are you going to do with Baker? Is Michael on, Alex? Awesome. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Michael Rothstein from ESPN joins us this morning. I'm excited for it. But before we go, Jeff, tell everybody where they get their haircuts from.
Well, I'm wearing a hat right now, but don't get me wrong. If I were to get my haircut, Lady Jane's to take care of you. And guys, let's be honest. Obviously, we talk about football. Football season's upon us, and Lady Jane's haircuts for men. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. You can walk through, sign in, sit down, and before you know it, you get to sit in one of those comfy chairs. They take care of you. And before you know it, you're walking out with a clean haircut. You get to catch up on all your teams through the Sports Center, and you couldn't be more happier. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime because it is wicked awesome.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Follow us everywhere. Just search Woodward Sports on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, IG, and more.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We are happily joined by ESPN's own Michael Rothstein, who is formerly the Lions beat writer reporter for ESPN. Michael, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Sorry about the technical issues a little earlier. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. No, I'm pretty sure that was on my end and the lack of technological whatever. I mean, I've had to move my camera like 4 different times right now. So, yeah, it's on me. I'll take the
no. Gentlemen. Michael, if you could please, I know now you're covering a different team now in the Atlanta Falcons, along with some other things over at ESPN. But if you could, please speak on your time here in Detroit. Kind of give the fans a perspective kind of from somebody who's in the building every single day in Allen Park, experiencing, let's be honest, a team that was not so successful and is still struggling to this day, and kind of point out what you've seen and what you've observed over all those years you were covering the team.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Michigan for 12 years, and I was covering the Lions for my last 8 from 2013 to 2020. Covered 3 coaches, I guess technically 3 general managers. If you want to include interim coaches, there was 4 there. I lost count on offensive coordinators, and only 1 quarterback in Matthew Stafford. But it was an interesting 8 years because you saw them probably with their best team, I would say, of the modern, or since 1991 in that 2014 team, because that team was legitimately good. And, you know, everything happens in Dallas. The defense has their worst drive of the year when they need it, and Sam Martin muffs a punt, and there was the bad non-pass interference call on Anthony Hedges, all those things that led to that loss. And, you know, I think if that team had won, they had a shot. They really did, because that team had a lot of potential. They had a lot of really good pieces. Reggie Bush was still playing really well at that point. Joyke Bell was kind of in the prime of his career. Matthew Stafford was playing really well. And it was also something that, had they won that game, I've always wondered whether Ndamukong Suh might have stayed. And he was such a crux of that defense. Now, I don't know that. And, I mean, listen, the Miami Dolphins paid Ndamukong Suh a ton of money. But Ndamukong Suh fit. And I don't know if Ndamukong Suh really has found a place that he has been as good since he left Detroit. So some of that is there. So that was the best team I covered. Other than that, it's been a lot of mediocre or worse when I covered the Lions. The Jim Caldwell era was largely middle-of-the-pack NFL, which is not a bad place to be. And then we all know what happened. Bob Quinn fired Jim Caldwell. He hired Matt Patricia. 3 years of just terrible football and dysfunction and so many things going wrong, and now you've got a new era. And I'll be honest, I haven't paid as much attention to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. I spent a good amount of time before I left, in part because I didn't know I was necessarily leaving, writing about Dan Campbell and working on a story about Dan Campbell, I think that he has a lot of potential. I think what we're seeing is him being him no matter what, and the team seems to really be at least fighting hard around that from a 1,000-foot view with what I see, and it's something that needed to happen. But much like kind of what's going on in Atlanta right now, you have to understand that you have to judge what's going on this season based on what the expectations were. And in Atlanta, to me at least, first-year head coach, salary cap, constrictions all over the place. If you had told most people, I think, at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to be in the playoff hunt for most of December, and you're not going to have Calvin Ridley, and you're going to have some issues at other places, and Dante Fowler is not really going to be a factor, I think most people would have said, wow, that's actually a really good coaching job. I feel the same way in Detroit this year, where if you had told people at the beginning of the year, hey, listen, you're going to be bad, but you're going to fight hard, but you're going to be doing it without your best offensive player in Frank Ragnow, without your best pass rusher in Romeo Okwara, with a guy in Jeff Okudah who's out starting in week 1, done for the year. I think most people would have said, oh, wow, like, you win a couple games, that's probably where you should be. And I think we've seen that. I've been impressed that they are continuing to fight hard, because the last 3 years, I think you can say largely that didn't happen when the season went south under Matt Patricia. You saw it a little bit with Darrell Bevell last year when he was the interim head coach, but not a ton. And, listen, I covered technically 3 owners, because my first year was the last year of William Clay Ford Sr.'s tenure, but at that point, he wasn't really around. I think I kind of met him once, and then I covered the entirety of Martha Ford's tenure owning the team, and then the first year or so of Sheila Ford Hamp, and I spent a lot of time working on a story on Sheila Ford Hamp too, and getting to know who she is, because no one really knew going in, and I think, I know that she gets a bad rap. I've seen it a little bit on Twitter still, but listen, she came into a difficult situation. And you can argue, it was partially her doing that. They kept Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn for another year. Yeah, you can argue that. But listen, I don't fault them for wanting to give it one more year when they realized, they're patient owners. And as somebody who works in another line of work, you want people to be patient. You want people to allow you to kind of see your vision through, and if it doesn't work, then you move on. And the second that they were out of playoff contention last year, they moved on. And it was very clear on that. And she not only moved on, they tore it all apart. And they signified, hey, listen, they have the stomach for a rebuild. And let's be honest, not every ownership group has that. And sometimes ownership groups hang on and hope. And, the fact that they were willing to do that, I think shows that she understands that you kind of have to tear it down to build it up sometimes, and that's what I see right now in Detroit.
Fair enough, Michael. It's interesting with what's going on in Atlanta. You see a team that Arthur Smith coming in, offensive-minded, Matt Ryan. They had weapons to start the year. They were expecting so much from Kyle Pitts, and then Ridley obviously deals with these mental health issues. He basically opts out for the remainder of the season. Yet this team is still putting out a good product. You brought up mediocre football during the Caldwell era. Do you kind of see Atlanta similar in the standpoint not only of record, but the way they operate organizationally? And that's kind of where I want to get at with all of this, is organizationally during your time in Detroit. From the outside perspective, I think everybody can easily say, yeah, it was probably, I don't even know the word to describe it, discombobulated, it was unorganized, it was a disaster. But just from an inside view, what have you seen so far in Atlanta that you have or haven't seen in Detroit? And then kind of a summary on what you saw in Detroit that always prevented them from ever getting over the hump, making the right decisions, making the right signings, keeping their players, getting the right coach, GM, whoever it needed to be in.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Detroit in that I don't think the Fords ever wanted to lose. It wasn't that type of scenario, right? They wanted to do well. They wanted to bring a winner there. I believe that, and I buy that, especially with Martha and with Sheila. I absolutely buy that because they also, don't forget, back in 2015, they made mid-season firings. They let go of Martin Mayhew, and they let go of Tom Lawand, and that was, really 6 months or so, or less than a year after arguably their best season since the mid-'90s. And, I've always wondered, again, going back to that Sue question, if Ndamukong Suh had stayed or if they had prepared better. And you can say drafting Aaron Donald, to me, was another big failing from the end of the Mayhew era, that they do that. They don't start off, 1-7, and I don't think anybody loses their job. And if they're 500 that year, it's entirely possible, by the way, that Martin Mayhew and Jim Caldwell are still in Detroit to this day because they were building something, and they just made a move. So sometimes wrong decisions at wrong times, I would say, in Detroit was part of the problem. Here in Atlanta, I'm still getting a feel for a lot of it, but it's another regime change. You have Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot. Arthur Blank is, to me, a much more hands-on, around the team, understanding everything owner than Martha Ford was or her husband was. Sheila, I can't really speak to because last year was COVID, right? So you don't know how much anyone's going to really be around, but she was clearly more involved than wanted to be. Arthur Blank is very involved. He's, on the field in the fourth quarter every game. Part of why he does that is to show support for his players, so that he's in there with them. He's in every post-game press conference, which is something I hadn't seen before anywhere else as far as owners go. I don't think the Fords were ever in a post-game press conference. And that's not a criticism of them altogether. It's something that's just very different. But, organizationally, to me, they are very similar. And I don't mean that in a bad way for either franchise. I just feel like the two teams are kind of, I don't know, I felt like that beforehand, where Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford are very similar type players, where their quarterbacks, I think, that were underappreciated in the city that they played in. And we're kind of seeing that now a little bit in Los Angeles, where people are starting to understand how good Matthew Stafford is. I think here in Atlanta, there's a segment of the fan base that has always compared Matt Ryan to Michael Vick, and because Matt Ryan is not the same quarterback as Michael Vick, they're very, very different players, about as polar opposite of quarterbacks as you can get. I think that has, among the fan base, been something that has been oddly interesting to me in the first year, because Matt Ryan, to me, has always been a very good quarterback. As a former MVP of the league, is very consistent. You're still seeing that now. But how they're run, it's tough to say, because I spent 8 years through 3 owners and in the building every day in Detroit. Here, you're not really in the building. You're in a side building because of COVID. You're not really around people. You're not in the locker room ever. So it's not exactly the same understanding of an organization at this point. And so it's tough to speak to exactly how similar they are or different they are. I see similarities, but I also see differences in kind of Arthur Blank being a little bit more hands-on. He's also one of the more active owners in the NFL league-wide, and one of the more accessible owners in the NFL league-wide, where Sheila is not, and that's her choice. And listen, I don't think Sheila's any less accessible than, half the owners in the NFL. So as far as why the Lions have never been able to maybe get over the hump and get it right, I don't know. I think it's just, again, some bad decisions at bad times. Unfortunate luck in some cases, because you can't predict injuries. And, Jeff Okudah is a great example. I still think Jeff Okudah, when he came out, was maybe the I would say, other than Chase Young, right? Like, one of the most safest picks you could take in the draft. And you couldn't have predicted an Achilles injury. And you couldn't have predicted necessarily he was going to have a groin injury most of his rookie year. Like, that's just stuff that happens, right? Like, you can't predict that Romeo Okwara, right after you sign him, is going to have a season-ending injury. Same thing going back to DeAndre Levy. DeAndre Levy signed that contract. He's one of the best off-ball linebackers in the NFL. Gets hurt and is never the same. And, it took years for him to get healthy, let alone, like, I'm just talking about, like, healthy enough to, like, walk and live a normal life, let alone play football, which obviously he really didn't do after that. So I think some of it's just unfortunate timing, right? And At times in Detroit, it felt like, sure, there was a weird culture situation there, but I think that they were ironing that out under Jim Caldwell. And when you look back at it, and I was very critical of Jim Caldwell, much like I was very critical of Matt Patricia. But when you look at it, like they at least were in a decent place with Jim Caldwell. And when they let Jim Caldwell go, I understood the reasoning that Bob Quinn had. It was obviously the wrong decision, a setting back franchise years decision.
Yep. Yeah, I love
understood
that.
the reasoning, which was they felt Jim Caldwell could only take them so far, and they needed to take someone to the next. They wanted someone they felt like could take them to be a Super Bowl contender instead of a playoff contender or a division title contender every year. So I understood the logic, but it obviously didn't work, and that's a decision that again eventually cost Bob Quinn his job, and kind of set in motion everything that has happened since. So organizations make bad decisions. They do. Like, it's just how quickly you're able to rectify it and bounce back from it. And I think right now the Lions are in a situation where they're trying to figure out how to bounce back from a very poor decision that led to other poor decisions along the way, like trading Quandre Diggs.
I love that you brought up two really good points. The first being that they made the decision that they wanted to take the next step. And although it didn't work, I can at least respect that mindset that, hey, we were 11-5, 7-9, 9-7, 9-7. We felt like we had something. We went all in on it. We went all in on our GM and head coach. It didn't work out. It didn't. But you can at least respect that. And then the second point that I thought was interesting was, in terms of bad decision making, and you can only be successful with continuous good decision making. It has to be consistent. It can't just be, oh, you hit Calvin every 7-10 years, or Barry, and then Stafford, and then Sue. Like, you need to hit in the second, third round. And when you say things like they need to be able to turn it around quickly after, I see teams like the Cardinals. They take Josh Rosen. They hire a head coach. With that same GM, after one season, he says, no, it's not working. Kingsbury, Kyler Murray. Now, it hasn't worked from a division title standpoint, playoff wins, NFC title game, Super Bowl standpoint, but they're in a really good position. That was rectifying a mistake really quickly. And I know Jeff wants to ask a question, so I'll let him say something here, but I really like the points you made there.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you for joining us, Michael, seriously. And then I have a question actually about Dan Campbell and just the job he's been doing so far for the Lions. And despite the win-loss record, I'm not even going to get into that, but I want to ask you, what gives the Lions, you think, an advantage over opposing teams once they do acquire more talent week to week from a coaching standpoint? A guy like Dan Campbell, is it getting his players to play above their means, or is it his assistant coaches? What do you think it is from week to week?
Honestly, I haven't been around. I can't really answer that question. I can tell you what I know about Dan Campbell from reporting kind of a deep dive story on him, which was really the last story I wrote on the Lions before I left, which was he's going to be him no matter what. And I think you're seeing that this year and have seen that. And by that, I mean head coaches sometimes will change when they take head coaching jobs. I think that an example of that is the last guy who was here beforehand.
Right.
Where all of a sudden you feel like you need to be something maybe you're not, and by the time you realize it, you're kind of sunk in some cases, especially if it doesn't go well in his first year. No one's questioning who Dan Campbell is or what Dan Campbell is. Is it going to work or not? Honestly, I have no idea. And I've said that from the jump. I felt like it's either going to be something that is really good for the Lions or it's going to be a spectacular failure. And this year was, to me, a write-off no matter what. Like, if they were, say, in the Falcons situation, I feel like Dan Campbell could arguably be coach of the year because of what the roster looked like. And I made the argument on my podcast from the Purge last week that if Arthur Smith had somehow made the playoffs, and I guess there's still a very small chance that can happen, you could argue Arthur Smith would be coach of the year because their roster is like a bottom 6 roster in the NFL. It's better than the Lions roster, but not by much, and they have salary cap issues, and they'd have no depth whatsoever. Like, if they sustained the injuries that the Lions had, I mean, they would be probably worse than Detroit based off of what you're seeing.
Right.
So all of that is to say, I think Dan Campbell's done an okay job in the first year, but to me, this first year was always going to be a wash in Detroit because of all of the change and figuring everything out. Now, I think he's made some interesting decisions, again, from a 1,000-foot view, right? Like I don't understand why you hire Anthony Lynn as a play caller and take play calling away less than halfway through the first season. Like that to me was a decision, again, from afar that I thought was odd, but I can't speak to it from a day-to-day situation. I just can't. To go back to the point about the Cardinals, by the way, and rectifying those decisions, it's interesting to me because you mentioned Josh Rosen, and I've been covering Josh Rosen here in Atlanta for the past year. Josh Rosen, I wrote about him actually last month or earlier this month. I don't remember. It all blends together. But he's really more at peace than at any point in his career. And he's been a guy who's been in bad situation after bad situation after bad situation because, again, like we talked about sometimes, luck. He's had unfortunate luck. Like if he had gone somewhere else than Arizona, I wonder if he would have been a better quarterback or a different type of quarterback. And part of why I think the Cardinals got rid of Josh Rosen is because Cliff Kingsbury's system is so different. Josh Rosen is not the type of quarterback that fits that system. So they had to move on, and they had a guy in Kyler Murray that they had a real shot. And I think what we're seeing with Kyler is, a really good player. And they got lucky that Bill O'Brien wanted to trade DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, now let's be honest. That's part of that too. That type of trade happens once every 4 or 5 years where you see that type of situation, and they just happen to get the good fortune
Randy
on that.
Moss for a 3rd and 4th round pick.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like those, or, Dallas sending Herschel Walker, is way back, sending Herschel Walker to Minnesota for like a massive amount of picks, or the Saints trading up to get Ricky Williams for a massive amount of picks. And, it ended up working in the favor of the team that got the draft picks, certainly in Dallas's case, because that was the, formulation of, ended up being really the last really strong run for the Cowboys before I think what we're seeing now. So I don't know. I mean, it does come down to decision making, but I apologize for not being able to really answer that Dan Campbell question. I'm just not around day to day, so I'm not qualified to answer that. I mean, my colleague Eric Woodward took over for me, is probably the better person to answer that question. Or Dave
Michael, we can't thank you enough for joining us this morning. Thank you so much for bringing your perspective and your 13 years here in Detroit. We really appreciated it. Thank you so much. We'd love to have you on again sometime soon, maybe after the season starts. The season is over. If you could,
I was like, it didn't start yet.
It's been a long one.
I'm already miserable. We only have 3 weeks left.
It's been a long one.
We only have 3 weeks left of football. I'm dying. But if you could, before you go, kind of tell everybody, where you're at right now, where they can catch you, listen to your podcast. Would love to hear that from you. Yeah, sure. So my podcast is called From the Perch. It covers all things Atlanta Falcons. I'll have Dave Burkett on this week from the Free Press. If you listen to my old podcast, the Michael Rothstein Show in Detroit, Dave was my first guest. He was my last guest. He's a really good friend of mine, so that should be a really interesting and fun episode. We're going to talk a bunch about the Lions, a bunch about the Falcons.
Let's go.
So From the Perch, you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts. And obviously, ESPN.com is where you can read all of my work. I'm working on a Falcons-Lions story this week. It should drop, I don't know, Friday or Saturday. Not exactly sure when yet. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Mike Rothstein. So it's been a pleasure coming back on, being with some of the people in Detroit. I really enjoy. I just want to actually close with this one thing, if that's okay. There's some misnomers that I did not like my time in Michigan or my time in Detroit or Ann Arbor, and that can't be further from the case. I really loved living there. It was a personal decision to leave for multiple different reasons that had nothing to do with a lot of things in Detroit or in Michigan. The fan base was incredible to cover, and I really felt like I connected with them a lot. But I just wanted to address that because I know that sometimes that comes up like, it was a decision, my decision to leave. I'm happy with my decision for sure. But it's great to come back on with y'all, and thank you for having me.
We appreciate you, Michael.
Yeah, Michael, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And the city of Detroit, especially Lions fans, really appreciated all the work you gave over your 12 years here in Detroit. Thank you so much, guys. We're going to go to break. That was Michael Rothstein joining us from ESPN, currently covering the Atlanta Falcons. You heard the man. Go give him a follow. Listen to the podcast. But before we go, I got to tell you about Gypsy Vodka. Gypsy is the best tasting, smoothest vodka on the market. Gypsy is gluten-free, corn distilled 6 times using artisan spring water. I may not have a voice left after the show, so I will definitely be chugging probably that whole bottle. Try a bottle today ask for it by the name of Gypsy, and as always, drink responsibly unless you're me and your throat is absolutely killing you.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10 and a half months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
Hire a graduate
of Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
What's the over-under? Should I tease? Who is the lock of the night? Make sure you're watching Woodward Bets to get the latest in sports betting and more. Woodward Bets daily on Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, 9:36. We're running a bit behind. The interview lasted much longer than I thought it was, but it was actually really good. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it at home, everybody listening. Thank you so much. Whew. So much to talk about. Let's see. Let's start with who comes out of the NFC. Now, we only have basically 8 minutes to do this. So, given Chris Godwin's injury, torn ACL out for the year, one, do you see the Bucs coming out of the NFC or at least contending? And two, who's your team to come out of the NFC?
Well, for me, they're still obviously contending. And we look at the top of the NFC, obviously the Green Bay Packers, to me, pose the best threat to them, considering they are healthy. Aaron Rodgers is playing at an MVP level. Matt LaFleur is doing his thing, and from a coaching standpoint, and they can run the ball and play defense. So I like the Packers. They're a complete team. Besides them, though, I mean, it's really a two-man race to me, three-man race. I would pick the Green Bay Packers. You got Tampa and you got LA. That's all I'm having in terms of contenders. I'm not a big believer in Dallas going to the Super Bowl. I'm not a big believer in Arizona. It's the 49ers, although they've been playing better, I don't think they're good enough to at least get to the Super Bowl over the other teams in the NFC. So my three teams, the Bucs, the Packers, and the Rams, and to me right now, the Rams and the Packers are just a little better than the Bucs right now. So the Bucs have time to turn it around, but with these injuries, it's not going to help their case. To me, it's about who has the most complete team and who's playing better. As of late, that can carry that momentum into the playoffs. And to me, it's Green Bay. It's Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and obviously at 11-3. Besides the record, just how they looked. One of their losses was a close loss with Jordan Love. If Aaron Rodgers plays in that game, it could have went anyway. So to me, it's the Packers. If you want to go Rams, I'm not mad. You can go Rams. But if I had to pick one, let's say if the Rams and the Packers squared off and take the Bucs out of it, I'll go with the Packers. So that's why I give so much credit to Maz, because they're looking more and more like the favorite every single day. So
they're 11-3 right now.
Yeah.
They can clinch the number 1 seed, which would be huge for them. Give them an opportunity. Jair Alexander, Zadarius Smith, get healthy, come back to the team. Alexander, is practicing, so that is a good sign for Green Bay. But watch out, Aaron Jones, thankfully not hurt to the extent I think we all thought when he got injured in Kansas City. So things are looking good and up on the up right now. I really like Green Bay. I think they're for sure the favorites to come out of the NFC, especially if they get that 1 seed. Teams will have to play in Lambeau. But we saw Tom Brady last year go to Lambeau and beat him. But speaking of Tom Brady, I never, ever, ever can sit up here and look you in the face and say, I'm going to write off Tom Brady. That would be very irresponsible of me. He has proven everybody wrong for over 20 years. Let's start there. So are they still contenders? Theoretically, yes. They have Tom Brady. That is an elite
always a contender
weapon.
with Tom Brady.
Nobody else in the league has somebody like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So there's that. Having said that, is Antonio Brown coming back?
This week,
they were going to cut him because the COVID case. Oh, Chris Godwin got hurt. We're going to look past it now. We probably bring you back. If Antonio Brown is back, they're going to be legit. If they can stay healthy, they have a good O-line. Fournette, Jones, we all know what they can do in the postseason. We've seen it, especially Leonard Fournette. Gronk, Tom Brady's golden weapon. Mike Evans, deep threat. Antonio Brown in the slot. It's still a damn good team if they get Antonio back to 100%. Having said that, I don't see them coming out of the NFC. And again, it's very bad of me to pick against Tom Brady because all he does is prove people wrong. But I see 2 teams making a push based on narrative. Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, of course. I think that's the clear and obvious answer. And I see a team that if tonight they win and somehow get back and win the division and host playoff games up until the NFC title game, I could see the Packers and Rams playing each other in Lambeau. And I think that's going to be my pick just today. Now, that could change tomorrow if they completely crap the bed. They don't look good against Seattle. Who knows? But I'm trying to think of scenarios that make sense in my head. Do I see Dallas making a push for the NFC title game? I don't know. I could easily see Dallas losing in the wild card. They're just... You can't play that inconsistent, although they have so many playmakers on defense. You know what I mean? For me, Packers-Rams, if you told me that was the NFC title game, I would say, okay, makes sense. The Rams probably got hot at the right time. And then if you told me, well, it's Packers-Cowboys or Cowboys-Bucks, I'd be, oh, wow, that's a surprise. Who knew? So the NFC's up for grabs. It really is. I don't see Tampa Bay, though, getting back. I really don't.
Yeah.
I see them maybe winning in a wild card game and then getting bounced out. I don't see it. They'll win their home playoff game. And I think they're done after that.
And that's not counting out Tom Brady. That's just being realistic. That's being realistic.
He can make another run, win a Super Bowl, and I'll just say, well, look, it's Tom Brady. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Accept it.
But I just don't see them the same way before the season. I said I don't see the Chiefs going to a third straight Super Bowl.
Right.
That is hard to do. It's hard to do, but they look like they can do it now. They've rebounded.
Yeah.
They look really good.
My pick ain't looking so stupid after all. Hopefully.
So there's still a lot of football left to play. I don't mean to go so far out in advance. Just find it very interesting.
Yeah.
We do have to go to break, unfortunately. I apologize, everybody. When we get back, Amon-Ra St. Got to talk about him. What's his ceiling? Who's his player comp? And how good has he been? We'll do that right after the break.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Hi, I'm Kay Cunningham. I'm proud to partner with Hall Financial, the mortgage company known for 5-star service. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their 5,000 5-star reviews for yourself. Go to callhallfirst.com and get started with your 5-star experience today.
Your Detroit alternative to the normal sports blah, blah, blah. It's Woodward Sports.
Welcome back. 9:43 actually. 9:43 in the morning. Downtown Birmingham, December 21st, 4 days before Christmas.
By the way, winter starts in about an hour-ish, 10:38, so just less than an hour.
Is officially
so about
winter?
50 minutes, it's officially winter. Yes, sir.
The Fish is why I appreciate you, because who would have? I didn't know.
Only Fish thinks of this kind of stuff. Thank you, Fish.
Well, if you watch the weather, they do put it on the weather. They're all big snobs about when winter starts, when fall starts, when spring. So, what are you going to do? You can also look it up on the internet as well. But
You're in studio weatherman, Fish, so we appreciate you.
All right. Amon-Ra St. And everybody in the chat, I would love for you to tell me who he reminds you of. Give me his player comp. But Jeff, how good has he been, and how good can he be?
Well, he's been great. And I think what you've seen out of Amon-Ra St. Brown is what you expected to see throughout the season. His play has gotten better as the game's gone on, and more has been asked of him, and he's shown up. His ability to catch the football, which is the most valuable trait for a wide receiver. He has more receptions than Calvin Johnson did his rookie year. Now, mind you, I'm not going to sit here and say, that's out of context, of course, but that's still impressive. I mean, you have more receptions than arguably the greatest receiver in franchise history, then yes, of course, it's impressive. So, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, man, he's not going to be a number one, probably maybe not even your number two, but a damn good number three. And I think he's a good piece, good guy you can use on the outside, you can use in the slot, and he's been a consistent target for Jared Goff. You talk about Josh Reynolds. Adding Josh Reynolds has only made Amon-Ra better as well. I mean, it's opened up so much more for him as well. So he's been a great player. I mean, honestly a steal for us because he's just as advertised. And if I had to say a player comp, I don't know. It's hard for me to really say a player comp. I will compare him in the early years to Golden Tate because that's who everyone seems to like to compare him to.
People are saying Hines Ward.
Hines Ward's a great one as well. But let me just compare his first couple of years. So Golden Tate, for people who forget, his first 4 seasons didn't clear over 900 yards. He had 200 yards his first year and kind of slowly ramped it up from there. He didn't hit a breakout season until he got to Detroit. His 4th, 5th year, he had 1,300 yards. So Amon-Ra doesn't have to look, 13,000 yards, 900 yards out of his rookie year, but he's going to get damn close. He's going to get about 700, 800 yards. I said in the beginning of the season he would lead all wide receivers because I was confident, and it seems to be coming that way. So I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think his receiving yards at him are more towards what's around him. Obviously, no Quintez, no Tyrell, no TJ, but I think when you have a good team, Amon-Ra is probably your number 3. Maybe if he's good, really good, number 2. But I see him being a number 3. If you have 2 other guys and he could fit right in, and you got a pretty good offense, so I love it.
I think he's a good run blocker. I don't think he's great. I think he could be great one day. I don't like the Cooper Kupp comparison. I think Cooper Kupp is extremely more dynamic and showed it immediately. He's just dealt with injuries, and we're seeing it this year. Do you see? Because when you say Cooper Kupp, you're telling me that there will be a point in his career where he is the best receiver in the NFL.
Right.
Be careful who you comp to, right? Hines Ward, I kind of like that. Underappreciated, gritty, does the little things that matter. I can get behind that. I didn't mind Golden Tate. I've seen Nate Burleson come up in this. I don't mind it.
I really do like the Hines Ward comparison. It's kind of clicking now that I'm thinking about it.
I don't mind it. I think it makes sense. The Golden Tate one, I don't mind as well. I think they're both comparable comparisons. I don't really mind it as much. I like the Hines Ward comparison, guys. I really do. Great job in the chat. Honestly, that was really good. Small, gritty, can block, runs the in and out routes very well.
Couple 1,000-yard seasons.
He fights for extra yards.
Yep.
He's not a kid you push over. He's not a diva receiver. He's blue-blooded. Grinding work factory guy, basically. And I like that. I really do. So, for everyone who said Hines Ward, you have my deep appreciation and respect. That was really good. That is why I love chat. That is why I love this chat.
Chat coming in clutch. That was a good.
That is a really good comparison, and that you can absolutely build on. Now, Greg Jennings, that's an interesting one, Randy. I don't see Greg Jennings and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I see Greg Jennings as a flashy, slightly overappreciated, not rated, overappreciated wide receiver 2. I think where St. Brown falls in is when he's needed, he's a 2. When this team is likely a good team, he's filling in between a 2 and 3 because he's a team guy. Not that he's not capable of being a 2. But I like Hines Ward. Gritty, tough.
Physical
route runner, physical run blocker.
Yeah.
Fights for extra yards.
That's what Amon-Ra is. So.
I like it. I really do. And Hines Ward was better than people remember, I think.
Yeah.
So I love that this chat
underappreciated
can go back in history and appreciate one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. I love that. I really do. I really, really do. I don't see Johnny Morton, Dave. I don't. I see. I don't see that. The flash doesn't catch me with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Does that make sense? I don't see the flash. That's why the Burleson, even Tate to an extent. I'm stuck on Hines Ward now. Excuse me. Sorry. The chat really got me good there. That was really good. So, Steve Smith. I love you, Randy. Now you're talking. Steve Smith and Hines Ward. I like the hybrid between the two, but we have to keep in mind Steve Smith led the NFL in receiving yards, touchdowns,
he was a trash talker. I love
and receptions in the same year.
Yeah.
So
he talked that talk. I like that.
I think the size, physicality, that's what the comp is. But production, what he can be, I don't think you compare him to a Cooper Kupp, even a Greg Jennings, or even Steve Smith. Having said that, we got to go to break. Guys, great job. Great job on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really appreciated that, chat. Let's get your questions in. Start asking them now. We're going to go to break. When we get back, we're going to answer all of your questions. And it'll be a good 10 minutes. But before we go, I got to tell you about where you can join us this weekend to watch the Lions versus Falcons. Lions-Falcons pregame show sponsored by Jose Cuervo at O'Toole's in Royal Oak. It'll be live from 11 to 1, kickoff at 1:05 p.m. It'll be myself, Neil Rule, and Braylon Edwards, along with Jade from The Riff and more. And we'll be hosting the pregame live on the Woodward Sports Network and 101 The Riff. And of course, don't miss out on Stick and Anson, who at the 2-minute warning go live for the Lions postgame reaction. Don't miss out live from the Brass Rail on Adams and Woodward. There'll be DJs, drinks, and a VIP Woodward Sports section. We'll catch you guys after the break. Get your questions in.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10.5 months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
a graduate
of Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Woodward Sports. Missed part of the show today? Watch again on YouTube or download the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. Final segment, 9:51 in the morning here downtown Birmingham. Woodward Sports. Jeff Iafredi joining me. Sam Fisher, better known as Fish. Alex Westfall in our technical booth. Making sure that the camera is on me when I talk like this. Thank you, Alex. Having said that, let's get right into the questions. We will start with JGB. If we let Lynn walk, should Ben Johnson be promoted to OC?
I would chill.
Given the 5-game sample size, I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to chill on that.
I'm not.
Because I don't need another inexperienced guy.
Day and night over. Do I need an experienced guy, or do I need a young, innovative coach?
No, I need somebody that at least can.
If he is what they're saying he is, and again, we don't know, right? We don't have all the information,
right? But
if Ben Johnson is behind the scenes calling the passing game plans, I think we can all agree he's done a really good job.
Because there's a difference. He'll go from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator.
But he's writing the whole script, all plays.
Right.
He's writing the entire script.
Pass game, yeah. Like he's helping out with the pass game. So I don't know. I'm gonna hold out on Ben Johnson. I like him, but we need a hit.
I don't mind it. I don't want to look back and be the Washington organization that let Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, and what's his name? I'm forgetting one. It's LaFleur, Shanahan, and someone else walk out of the door, never giving them an HC job.
But are you comparing Ben Johnson to those guys?
Nobody knew who Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. They knew who Kyle Shanahan was, but nobody knew who Sean McVay was in Washington.
Listen, Dan and Brad know
I'm just saying,
more than me. But
I don't mind them giving this young guy an opportunity, because if he goes into next year and they look abysmal, well, then you go out and get a vet.
But it's like then you're firing him after half a year, and then we just fired our last. Like I just want some. You know what I mean?
I get it. Like the kid has done a good job,
and I'm not going to disagree with you.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to disagree.
I don't mind.
He's done a great job.
That internal promotion. I think that's a good vibe. I think it's a good message to send. I think you should reward employees, quote unquote, who are delivering, who are responsible, and have shown you that they can handle the job that's been required and asked of them. If Green Bay, my voice is gone. If Green Bay wins the first bye by the time they play, so if they clinch the bye by the time they play the Lions, do they sit and do the Lions win?
Didn't Fish call this in the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I think they could, but based on that narrative, I think they likely.
Yeah, right.
But you don't want to sit players for back-to-back weeks, so I think they play maybe the first half. Who knows? I'm not a fan of sitting your guys the last week, especially if you have a bye week, because that's 2 weeks of no contact football.
Yeah, then you go to the playoffs.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So, no, if I'm Green Bay, I'm not sitting my guys. I'm really, really not. Guys, what wide receivers are back next year? St. Brown, Cephas, Raymond, Hodge, Reynolds. I'm going to go St. Brown and Raymond. Oh, excuse me. St. Brown, Cephas, and Reynolds. And probably Raymond. I don't know. Are they going to draft? Are they going to be... Oh my goodness! Are they going to be 5 receivers deep?
I think Raymond, when they signed Raymond, he's a great punt returner, great kick returner, and they kind of threw him into that wide receiver role. I mean, he's earned it obviously, but maybe they keep him around. Maybe he wants to be a strictly only wide receiver, but yeah, it's going to be tough. You get 4 or 5 deep. I mean, you're going to draft one this year, so you're going to have to cut one of those guys out, and it's probably Hodge and maybe Raymond.
I'm not giving Deuce Staley the OC job. What the hell has Deuce Staley done to deserve an offensive coordinator position? Stop
Yeah,
it.
he's
He's
done
a
good.
running backs coach.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson is doing all the work behind the scenes right now. He should get promoted if anybody's getting promoted internally. Stop it. Question for Adam. Did you reprimand Alex Mayer for all those Spartan toys? I did. What I did, I cannot say on air.
Oh boy, ooey.
If you want to know, Mike, ask him at 2 o'clock when he hosts The Bottom Line with Braylon and Ryan,
Oh,
and
boy.
he's technical directing. But look, if you draft a wide receiver, I'm keeping Brown, I'm keeping Reynolds, and I'm keeping Cephas, and I'm letting the rest go. I'm keeping Cephas because I want to give him a chance to reach his ceiling. If he doesn't, I'm cutting him after next year.
Because he's shown something.
A little bit. He's shown flashes.
Showed a little flashes.
One funky. Adam, what do you think of me comparing Dan Campbell to John Madden? I know that Madden took over a better team. I mean, he was a meathead that went from a positional coach to head coordinator or head coach. Okay.
A little bit of a
So
cavalier
one
there.
funky. I recommend you watch the John Madden documentary that'll be airing on Fox Christmas Day. That's number one. I'm going to give them a promotion, free, no problem. Watch it. And I also want you to remember the era difference, right? We are now in the offensive-minded, offensive-friendly league. And the only guys that are really dominating defensively are Bill Belichick and Brandon Staley.
Right.
And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. John Madden was not a meathead. He was a football man. He was a football junkie. He understood the game. Yes, he didn't have coordinating experience, but that wasn't the era that it is now, guys, right? Does that make sense? If you hired Dan Campbell in the 70s, 80s, everybody would say that's a great hire. Even in the 90s to an extent. But we're in 2021. So it's hard for me, Funky, to do that comp because the era difference, how the game was coached and played, and also given that John Madden delivered right away. And he retired young. John Madden, don't forget, was considered the young up-and-comer, great coach, the next one. And he retired early, went and did TV and made a video game out of himself. That's what he did. So it's tough for me to buy that, Funky. It really is. Although I get it to an extent.
Personality.
I can't make that comp because it's a different era, different dude, different way the game was played. Again, if you hired Campbell in the 70s and the 80s, everybody would revere it as the right choice. As a football guy, he talks to them like this. It makes sense.
My kneecaps.
I don't know if that's the NFL. That's not where the NFL is going. I don't. So we got a question about hockey I really want to get to. I'm trying to find it about Lucas Raymond.
Listen,
who wins the Calder?
Oh.
Sider or Raymond? It's Raymond.
Yeah.
Raymond's going to finish with more points, likely lead the team in points, likely lead the team in goals unless Larkin continues his hot streak. I love Raymond for the Calder, and maybe Sider finishes second. Who knows? We got to get one more question before we go. Let's see.
What positions would you target in free agency versus the draft? I guess that depends on maybe who you miss out on. I don't know. Depth is important at every position. You see that now, but it depends. Because the Lions, we expect you're going to go D-end probably, wide receiver, linebacker, safety. It's about getting depth at those positions, maybe grabbing a veteran. But I don't think they go out and spend money.
You need veteran leadership on your roster if you want to turn it around next year and show that you're a good football team. Adam, what are you drinking after the show?
Robitussin.
Robitussin or Jägermeister? Both.
In one.
Both.
One cup.
Both. It's going to be the Robermeister, whatever you want
the
to call it.
Robermeister.
All right, guys, we got to go. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being patient with me. I apologize about my voice. I apologize about being sick. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope you enjoyed the Michael Rothstein interview. I apologize we didn't get to everything we wanted to talk about today, but there's always tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Can't thank you guys enough for always supporting the channel, supporting the network. We appreciate it dearly. If you're watching on YouTube, do leave a like. It does help us so much. Thank you for all your interactions and your comments. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy back. Well, actually, they're playing at the same time. 7 o'clock game. So enjoy football tonight,
You also
guys.
got bowl games, 3:30 and 7:30.
I know, Fish. We're not talking about bowl games right now, buddy. Enjoy the NFL tonight at 7 o'clock. Enjoy dinner with your families. Have a great day.